So today I have some pies that need to be made. I have somebody who is paying me to bake them 10 individual sized pies for a bridal shower. So it wasn't actually too long ago that I did 15 individual pies for somebody's, their mom's, gosh, I think it was her 80th or 90th birthday, and wanted the individual pies. And this came about because for my daughter-in-law's baby shower, she did a pie dessert table setup, and it was just absolutely adorable. And word got out, and I've been asked to do pies a couple times now. So today, what I'm here to show you is how to do a strawberry pie filling and an apple pie filling. I like to use clear gel when I do my pie fillings, whether I'm canning or not. I feel like the consistency of the pie coming out is always promised. So if you're somebody who struggles with having your pie filling come together, this could be that little secret that you maybe weren't aware of. Clear gel is oftentimes kind of goes hand in hand with the canning world, if you will. And so maybe this is for you. Until I started to do it this way, my apple pie filling consistently never set. It would be too watery, it is runny, just whatever the case. I, for years, would say I can bring a pie, but not apple. I don't know what it was. I know apples hold moisture, of course, but so do other different types of fruits. So I didn't know what it was, but doing it this way, I can almost guarantee you won't have any troubles with that. I already have my pie crusts sitting out. These were in the freezer. I will put the recipe that I use for my pie crust down below, but if you're interested in just doing a quick Google search, it's the recipe that the America's Test Kitchen, I think is the cookbook. It's that recipe. It's my favorite. I have never made a pie crust after using that recipe. I love how it turns out. It's easy to do. And now for years, that's the only pie crust that I make. I also never make a single pie crust. I will always make a double pie crust whether I need to or not. When I make a double pie crust, if I only need one, because you need a bottom portion, I cut it in half, I wrap it, and I throw it in my freezer, and I just meal prepped. So goes back to that mentality that I'm always saying, cook once, eat twice. If I'm in the kitchen dirtying things up, I might as well dirty up everything to at least make it worth my time. And then next time I get the hankering for something with a pie crust or whatever the case may be, I don't actually have to go through the method of doing it, and I don't have to bring all the ingredients and dirty up all those dishes again. Just make the double pie crust even if you only need one, and save the other one for later. Okay, so I actually had a few singles in there because of that purpose. Sometimes I'll make two. I should say I always make two, but sometimes I will divide it and freeze them singly, so it's already portioned out for me. And then sometimes I keep it large so that I know there's two pie crusts in here. This way, if I'm making a pie that needs a top and bottom, I'll grab this one. If I'm making something that only needs the bottom, I will just grab this. So on and so forth. So I actually have an accumulation of several here. I'm making 10. I'm not quite sure how many of these I'm going to need. Whatever I don't use today, I will just put back in the freezer. So I'm giving these time to thaw and to be able to work with. While that's happening, I'm gonna go over to the stove and we're going to start with the strawberry pie filling. I have several different fillings to make today. I'm gonna show you the apple and the strawberry. Okay, since I'm cooking for somebody else and it's not just my family consuming these pies, it's none of my family consuming the pies actually, I do wear gloves just as an extra, set of precaution. Wash my hands really good, I sanitize everything, and then I put my gloves on. You never can be too safe in my opinion. So to a stock pot, whenever I'm making pie fillings, jams, jellies, anything of the nature, I always do a tall stock pot because there is a lot of boiling time involved, and it just helps if anything wants to, kind of spit out, that the higher the container, a little bit more contained that would be. So we are going to start by measuring our sugar and our clear gel and water together, and we're going to get that kind of boiled for a little bit before we add the strawberries. So we're going to start with 3.5 cups of sugar. I'm going to work out of my real large bin today. So 3.5 cups of sugar. Right on the money. This is the ratio if you're using 5 pounds of strawberries. I'm actually using frozen strawberries. This happens to be 4 pounds, which is fine. I'm still going to move forward with the ratio. You don't always have to use fresh ingredients. Frozen does work. We're going to use clear gel. This is the brand I use. I keep a couple containers on hand. And we need 1 cup. I don't have any of my dry measuring cups over here. It's over in my baker's area, so this will work just fine. All right, let's get 1 cup of that in there, and we're gonna get 3 cups of water. Let's get our temperature set to kind of like a low to medium. And this is a time where you want to stay by the pot. You want to get it a good whisk. You want to make sure you're not having any clumps. I don't have an issue with getting the clumps out by just adding everything in here. If you feel like things are clumpy and you need to start over, then just slowly add your water in while you're whisking, and that should really help to, of course, eliminate any of those lumps left behind. I never have an issue. It seems like it all pretty well dissolves together. So we're looking to bring this up to a boil, and we're going to let it boil for several minutes. It's going to really thicken as that happens. I am using, like I said, frozen strawberries. However, I want to point out that I did not thaw my strawberries first. I don't know if there's recipes to state to do that. I'm not, because when you thaw fruit, you're going to be left with a ton of liquid that has come out of those strawberries. Some of it is just water retainage, but there's also flavor packed inside that frozen strawberry at this point. If we're gonna add it to our pot here, in my experience, it warms through while also now essentially cooking to kind of soften up those strawberries, and it's more like a natural release of that liquid. I don't know the science behind it. I just know I have a better outcome when it comes to taking it straight from the freezer and not letting it thaw for several hours for this particular project anyhow. Sometimes it is necessary to thaw strawberries. So that's just the way I'm doing it. That's what's worked best for me, and that's what I'm sharing with you. I only need 2 pies, 2 strawberry flavored pies. So I know I'm going to have leftover. If I wanted to, I could bring out my canner, sanitize my jars, whatever I have left, I could then add my jar, add to my jars. It would have to be a more fluid of a process though. So once this is ready, I would have to take out what I need for my pies and then go straight into canning. But I'm not going to do that. Whatever I have left, I'm going to make a pie for my family. And then if there's anything left, a whole pie. And if there's anything left from that, I will just freeze the filling and pull it out another time for any sort of a, recipe that I want to make. I'm not going to go through the canning process today, but this is a canning recipe. So you could certainly do both if you wanted to. Make a pie for now and can up the rest for later. We will need half a cup of lemon juice towards the end. That really is, I don't want to say mostly or mainly for the canning portion of this. It does add some vibrancy. It does lend to the flavor of this strawberry filling. So even if you're not going to can it for the purpose of why we're adding lemon juice, I would still add it. Don't skip that. You could do fresh juice if you wanted to, and you had no plans on doing a canning session. But if you are going to can it, I do recommend using the bottled because that is guaranteed to be 5% acidity. Just keep whisking because you don't want it to burn. I'm lowering the temperature here. This is definitely very thick already. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off just for a minute so I can get my strawberries added to it. I'm using whole strawberries, but go ahead and use, slice or whatever you wish. I really don't want to risk scorching anything at the bottom, so I'm going to keep it on low because it won't really take long for the heat to really start to break down those strawberries, and then I'll be able to see, if I have a issue with too much liquid coming off of those strawberries. I've not had that problem in the past, so we will see. I just absolutely adore the look of using whole strawberries in a pie. So that's why I do the whole strawberries. I did kind of contemplate if I wanted to change that up, given the fact that I'm not doing large pies. But I thought, if absolutely need be, I could crush it up a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see how it comes out. I've not made strawberry pie in the individual sizes before, so I don't know. I haven't decided what we'll do there. So this is the size, my hand, of the pies that we're making. They are pretty much a serving of 4. So yeah, it does take a little bit more work to make these individual pies than it does large pies. So if you are contemplating something like this, just keep that in mind. Because they're small, people, I think, could assume that maybe it won't be as much, but it takes more work to make this small pie with rolling out the pie crust and doing all these edges multiple times compared to a really big pie. Now, far be it for me to poo-poo on anything you want to do in your kitchen. I'm going to choose not to do this, but I do want to make sure you are aware that it's a possibility. I see it often in recipes, certainly not all of them, of course, but as I'm making this, I'm remembered about it. To me, it's a very beautiful red. If you were to open a strawberry pie filling from the grocery store, the red is going to be vastly different. You can add red food coloring to this if you think it's more appealing, if people are more accustomed to a visual representation of what pie filling is, then maybe you want to add that. I'm going to choose not to. If I'm making it homemade, I'm going to leave out some of those less than desired ingredients when possible. It doesn't bother me that this isn't as red looking. So that's an option though, if you decide that, you know, you prefer the look of that. Okay, so there we have the strawberry pie filling. I think this is wonderful. Giving it just a little bit of a taste test without the strawberries. Delicious. Absolutely delicious. Very, very good. Get this in the sink. Okay. Beautiful. I'm going to get this off the heat. If you have any kiddos around, let them lick the spoon. I'm going to opt to not have that sugar craze today and just set it in the sink. Get this off the heat, off to the side. I'm going to just let that sit there. It can hang out until I'm ready for it. And we're going to start preparing the apple filling next. I have my apples sliced, peeled, cored, sliced, all of that good stuff. I have them in a bowl of cold water with some lemon juice. You can use citric acid if you wish. I also, this isn't an actual slice, but let's just say it was a slice of apple. I like to cut them in half. I chop them rather thin, and then if it were the shape of like a half moon, I then cut them in half again. So unlike my strawberry pie where I like the strawberries whole, I like my apples a little bit smaller, especially with the smaller size pie that we're making. It just helps to create better bite-sized pieces when you also use smaller slices of apple. It doesn't matter if you do that or not. I just wanted to show you that that's kind of what I like to do. Sometimes when I'm doing a large pie, sometimes I'll just slice them nicely and leave it that way. That's nice too. It just depends on what's happening, I guess. But this particular instance, that's what I'm going to do. So I have 5 pounds of apples. I also used 2 different types of apples. I'm using a Granny Smith and I'm using a more sweeter red apple. I don't honestly know what kind they are. The bag I took out was not the bag I ended up wanting to use. That's a snacking apple. That is not a baking apple by any means. And so loose in my crisper drawer are the other red apples, and I don't recall what they are, but they have more firmness to them and they're sweeter, which will complement the tartness of the Granny Smith apples that definitely hold great shape when, you know, trying to make a pie. So that's definitely one of the more traditional type of apples to use. So to start, let me dry my hands a little. Set my apples off to the side for a minute. In our pot, let's get 2.5 cups of sugar, 3/4 cup of clear gel, making a mess in the process. It's part of the directions. All right, let's do 2, decent heaping size of cinnamon. We can adjust that to taste here in a little bit if we need to. When I'm making this for other people or I'm serving it, at a crowd, what have you, I do like to be very cognizant of the fact that certain spices and flavor profiles might feel very overwhelming to other people. So it's not my job necessarily to really individualize each entire pie to other people's likings that might vary across the board, but I do like to just kind of not be super overpowering when it comes to certain flavors. Cinnamon is one of them. Going to grind some fresh nutmeg. Not that one. I have to go get my new bag. These are getting kind of low on size. Nutmeg is another flavor that some people just really hate, so I don't do a lot of nutmeg. I'm gonna do 1 cup of water and 1.5 cups of apple juice. I went ahead and drained off my apples so that those will be nice and ready. Put the heat back on, give this a whisk. Once it starts to thicken up, we'll add the apples. All right, this is definitely thickened up. It's an arm workout. Okay, let's add our apples. So I have the pie crust in the fridge, except for the one I'm going to work with at the moment, because you don't really want it super room temperature. You want it a little bit cold, so I'm going to chill it while we assemble the 2 pies we made together, the apple and the strawberry. So I need 2 apple, 2 strawberry. Sprinkle my workplace here with a little bit of flour. I'm going to work with half of this dough at a time, keeping the other half covered and in the fridge. You really want to make sure your rolling pin is nice and floured. Flatten out my pie dough here just a little bit. Get it rolled out. Now, the thing about your pie crust is you can sort of decide how thick you want it, how thin you want it, and I would certainly caution you on having it way too thick. You certainly don't want it super thin. because it might, you know, overcook, burn up a little bit through the baking process. Now, I don't know if I'm in the minority on this or not, but one of my favorite things about a pie, and it don't matter what type of pie it is, it's the crust. I love the crust on a pie, probably more than the filling, to be quite honest. As much as I love fruit pies, I guess any pie really, I really am not that huge of a fan, but boy, let me tell you, that pie crust, so I make mine a little bit thicker. Certainly the top crust anyhow, but that's just preference. When you purchase the pie dough already made, whether it's name brand or store brand, it's rather thin in my opinion, which is why I love being able to just make my own. So I split that in half, and you can see this would be considered one pie crust. It makes a bunch. Always makes more than what you think you need. So this is about the thickness I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take one of my pies here, probably two. Just gonna cut around my pie pan, going outside of the actual size of the pie because I want to make sure I have an overlap to kind of drape over. Memory serves me, I think I was able to get 3 pies with 1 pie crust. I don't remember. We will find out. It doesn't have to be a circle. No one's gonna know. There's no perfection when it comes to home baking. The point isn't for it to be perfect. Leave that to the supermarkets, to the big commercial industry. You just focus on making it taste good. Made with really good ingredients. No one's gonna know. It wasn't a perfect circle, promise you. Okay, bottom's done. Okay, so let's go in with our apple. I like to really fill my pies as well. I love to see the top pie crust to have a little bit of a mound. It's perfect. Okay. Okay, fish out some of those whole strawberries. Okay. That looks beautiful. Listen, you don't need the red food coloring. It's not necessary. There are different ways that I do my tops. My apple pie, I always do a very traditional pie crust topping with the like X, if you will, in the top. My strawberry and raspberry, you typically see done. I mean, you can do whatever you want with any of your pies. Traditionally, in my experience, strawberry, raspberry have the lattice type of topping. Well, strawberry and raspberry can also look incredibly similar to one another, and so I will do a different topping for one set versus the other. That way I can tell my customer that the such and such topping, that type of pie crust is, you know, strawberry, the other red filling is raspberry, and that's how your guests can then differentiate those apart. Okay, so what I like to do, as I just set my egg aside, is I'm going to come in through here and I'm going to use my egg wash to sort of seal the top portion of my crust onto the bottom. Just like so. If you have a very dramatic amount of overhang, you'll want to trim it. Otherwise, I generally keep a bit of the overhang because it makes for the fantastic, beautiful crust. I don't need too much. So with the bottom and top together, I fold the top under the bottom crust all the way around. And then I'm going to push down the edges here and push kind of into this part of the pie can, creating a very dramatic crust on the edges. Really thick, beautiful pie crust. My pie crust is warming up, so I have to be careful not to keep overworking it. And then I'm going to make a slice here. Here. And just continuing the pattern. I think especially for a wedding shower, I think the hearts are a wonderful addition. I love the way a pie looks with a sprinkling of sugar on top of it, so I do that to all of my pies. Adds like this glistening appearance. It's beautiful. What do you think? Do you like that? I think it's precious. Okay. Let's do the next one. Okay, I'm gonna get these ones into the fridge before we begin the other ones. Okay, so the pies are done and they're all right here, plus the pies that I made for my family. We have apple, cherry, strawberry, and I did the heart crusts. The lattice is blueberry, and the flour, which unfortunately doesn't look like much of a flower anymore, is raspberry. The apple turned out phenomenal. Like I said, it gels every single time. It was very delicious. The strawberry is quite loose. That's okay. Honestly, it tastes amazing. I know nobody's gonna really care too much. It is what it is, but it was really good. I took out a little piece for my breakfast this morning. Don't tell anyone. Well, I hope you give the pie recipes a try. Let me know what you think. I hope you found some value in this video. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time I'm in my kitchen.